King Charles has very much been dragged into this. The king has been heckled during an official visit today, amid mounting pressure on the royals to strip Prince Andrew of his titles and evict him from the royal lodge. Windsor's quiet lawns are whispering with change once again. After years of speculation about the future of Prince Andrew's lavish royal lodge, Andrew is still going to be a prince because of course he is the son of the former queen, but he is going to be royal in blood only. All the other titles, all of the other trappings gone, but he gets to stay in a pretty nice house. King Charles has reportedly ordered him to vacate the sprawling estate that has long been his sanctuary. The decision marks a striking moment in the ongoing reshaping of the royal landscape. Remember, there's only room for one sovereign at a time, not two. So, you can't be the same as the sovereign, as Charles continues to redefine what the modern monarchy stands for. But why did King Charles decide to evict his brother? Join us as we uncover King Charles's stunning decision to remove Prince Andrew from the royal lodge. As you can imagine, there's been a swift reaction not only on people from on the streets, but also from the news media, including the headline this morning from the Sun newspaper. The headline reading, "Banned Old Duke. King Charles's bold move. The Duchess of Kent's funeral held on September 16, 2025, was meant to be a moment of quiet dignity and mourning. Senior members of the royal family arrived in somber black, their expressions grave, their movements deliberate. The cameras, respectfully distant, captured the solemn arrivals of King Charles, the Prince of Wales, and the Princess Royal, each embodying the weight of royal duty in a time of loss. But in the days that followed, it was not the ceremony itself that captured the nation's attention. It was a fleeting 7-second moment involving Prince Andrew, the disgraced Duke of York, and his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. The short clip filmed outside St. George's Chapel showed Andrew speaking to Sarah in what seemed like a brief, cheerful exchange. There was a small laugh, a nod, and a hint of a smile. Harmless gestures on any ordinary day, but devastating in this context. As the rest of the royal family stood in mourning, Andrew appeared relaxed, even amused. Within hours, those few seconds would ignite a storm. The footage began spreading across social media almost instantly. By midnight, it had reached 2 million views. The caption on one viral post read simply, "He's laughing at a funeral." What began as a quiet service for a respected royal turned into a public relations disaster. Major newspapers and broadcasters seized on the story. The Guardian described the moment as a stunning lapse of judgment, while the Telegraph called it an optical nightmare for a monarchy already under strain. On talk radio, callers voiced their irritation, with some saying the Duke's behavior was tone-deaf and embarrassing. Within 48 hours, a private meeting was called at Clarence House. Present were King Charles, Prince William, and Princess Anne. The agenda was short but explosive: the future of the Yorks. For months before the incident, the king's advisors had quietly been reviewing Royal Lodge, the sprawling 30-room mansion in Windsor that Prince Andrew has occupied since 2003. Once the cherished home of the late Queen Mother, it had come to symbolize royal privilege and excess. Maintaining the property cost millions of pounds each year, and with Andrew stripped of public funding since 2019, questions had long swirled about how he could afford to keep it. The incident at the funeral became the final straw. As one palace insider reportedly told The Times, the funeral was the tipping point. The king wants dignity, not distraction, and Royal Lodge has become both. Behind the king's decision lies a broader plan, a quiet but determined effort to reshape the monarchy for a new era. King Charles has often been described as favoring a slimmed-down monarchy, one focused on duty, not drama, service, not scandal. The Yorks, with their lingering controversies, have become the very opposite of that image. Sarah Ferguson, still recovering from recent health problems, found herself once again in headlines as old emails resurfaced linking her to the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. In the wake of renewed attention, several charities associated with her quietly paused their collaborations. Financially and reputationally, the Yorks are seen as a liability, and now, according to sources close to the Crown Estate, a new term has appeared in internal documents about Royal Lodge: status review. In royal language, that phrase usually means only one thing: the beginning of an exit. No official statement has yet been made. Buckingham Palace has declined to comment, but within the corridors of Windsor, whispers are growing louder. If the rumors are true, this would be the first time in modern royal history that a senior family member was effectively removed from a crown property by direct order of the reigning monarch. Such an act would mark a bold and unprecedented step, perhaps King Charles's most decisive move yet, as he works to redefine what the royal family represents in the 21st century. For Prince Andrew, it marks yet another fall from grace. Once one of the royal family's most celebrated figures during the glittering 1980s, when he married Sarah Ferguson in a ceremony watched by millions, his reputation has since crumbled under the weight of scandal and misjudgment. His military titles have been stripped, his public duties removed, and his standing within the family greatly diminished. Royal Lodge, once his sanctuary, may soon become his last battle. The mansion, with its grand gardens and memories of royal history, has been under scrutiny since early summer. The king's advisors have been reviewing its financial and structural state, noting that it costs millions annually to maintain, money that few believe Andrew can honestly provide. Sources say that following the funeral footage, those reviews have accelerated. The king, determined to bring stability and credibility back to the monarchy, sees no room for indulgence or waste. Behind the scenes, there is said to be a deep emotional weight to the decision. For King Charles, this is not merely about money or image, it is about protecting the institution itself. The monarchy cannot afford distractions. One insider reportedly said, "Every move, every image matters, and sometimes even 7 seconds can change everything." For Sarah Ferguson, the situation is equally precarious. Once beloved for her warmth and openness, she has lived through years of public scrutiny, scandal, and reinvention. Her resilience has often earned her sympathy, but her proximity to Andrew now threatens to pull her back into controversy. Observers note that this unfolding drama reveals a larger truth about the royal family today, a monarchy in transition, caught between centuries of tradition and the relentless glare of modern media. The world no longer waits for palace statements. It reacts in real time to 7-second clips, viral hashtags, and online outrage. Funeral video may have lasted just 7 seconds, but its impact has stretched far beyond that. What seemed like a fleeting, harmless exchange has forced a confrontation inside the royal household. One about responsibility, image, and the future of the crown itself. As whispers of eviction grow louder, many believe this could mark the end of the Yorks' long and uneasy chapter within royal life. King Charles, the decision represents something deeper, a message that no one, not even a brother, stands above the dignity of the monarchy. After all that he's done, why is Prince Andrew still there? Let's find out. Prince Andrew's royal life. The fall of a royal is never quiet, but few have fallen with as much noise or disgrace as Prince Andrew. Once hailed as the Queen's favorite son, he now stands as one of the most scandal-stained figures in the monarchy's history. In 2023, the crown itself cut ties, stripping him of his honorary military titles and silencing the use of his royal highness. For a man raised on privilege, it was a public humiliation unlike anything the House of Windsor had ever seen. But while the world focused on lawsuits, headlines, and rumored connections, Jeffrey Epstein, another story was brewing. Not one born in courtrooms or tabloids, but within the palace walls themselves. A story told not by lawyers or journalists, but by someone who lived in the shadows of his daily life, his former maid. Her name is Charlotte Briggs, and what she revealed about Prince Andrew is enough to make the scandals already attached to his name look tame. So, what did Charlotte Briggs say? Keep watching to find out. Charlotte entered Buckingham Palace in 1996, a 21-year-old from Yorkshire who thought she'd landed a once-in-a-lifetime role. At first, she was tasked with routine duties, cleaning offices, taking out bins, and even sharing small human moments with royals who treated her kindly. She remembered Prince Edward holding the door open for her, an act of courtesy she hadn't expected. For 6 months, her job was simple. Then came the assignment no one wanted, serving Prince Andrew. What should have been a mark of trust quickly revealed itself as a nightmare. Andrew was 36 at the time, newly divorced from Sarah Ferguson, and living back in the palace on what was known as the nursery floor. Yet, despite being a grown man, a military veteran, and a prince of the realm, his behavior, according to Charlotte, was more like that of a spoiled child than a war hero. She recalled her first taste of his temper, a rant over curtains. Andrew, seated just a few feet away, demanded she run up and down stairs to adjust them until they were exactly how he liked. When a sliver of light peeked through the top, his fury exploded. "Can't you do anything right?" he barked. Charlotte was left in tears, shocked that something so trivial could provoke such rage. This, she explained, was not an isolated incident. Tantrums were part of the job. His bed had to be turned down with military precision, pillows embroidered with the royal crest placed in the exact center, pajamas laid out neatly, and most bizarre of all, his teddy bears positioned just so. Mrs. Stepp and Andrew would erupt. It wasn't just the demands that unsettled her. It was hypocrisy. This man fought in the Fallons, she remembered thinking, yet he couldn't even close his own curtains. By contrast, other royals exuded dignity. Charles and Edward, she said, were wonderful. Princess Anne kept her distance but showed quiet respect. Andrew, however, was the rotten apple, the one who spoiled what could have been the job of a lifetime. Still, there were surreal moments. Charlotte earned $600 a month and even found herself standing on the royal balcony during Trooping the Color. She was hugged by Nelson Mandela, a memory she cherished, but behind the grandeur, her daily reality was dominated by Andrew's petty demands. And then there was Sarah Ferguson. Despite their divorce in 1992, Charlotte claimed Andrew kept his ex-wife close in spirit, if not in body. His wardrobe, she alleged, still held her wedding dress. Her makeup remained neatly laid out on his dressing table, though she might walk back in at any moment. For Charlotte, it was unsettling, a sign he hadn't let go. Even as the world assumed he had moved on, her stories didn't surface immediately. They came years later in 2022, just as Andrew's life imploded under the weight of Virginia Giuffre's lawsuit. Giuffre alleged she was trafficked by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and forced to have sex with Andrew when she was a teenager. Andrew denied it fiercely, but the damage was done. Against this backdrop, Charlotte spoke out, her memories adding another layer to the portrait of a man who demanded loyalty but offered little humanity in return. And Charlotte wasn't alone in exposing the strange inner world of the Duke of York. Former palace guard Paul Page corroborated her accounts in an ITV documentary, Ghislaine, Prince Andrew, and the Pedophile. He revealed Andrew's obsession with stuffed toys, claiming his bed was covered with 50 or 60 of them. Maids were given a laminated diagram showing the exact placement of each bear. If one was out of order, Andrew's temper would explode. Even outsiders noticed. Writer Elizabeth Day recalled visiting Buckingham Palace in 2019, where she waited in a corridor opposite an oversized teddy bear, perched on a chair. When she later asked Andrew about it, he laughed and explained it was a wedding gift from Sarah Ferguson. What might have seemed quirky in another context suddenly seemed strange when layered onto years of testimony about his childish demands. Through Charlotte's eyes, the myth of royal dignity crumbled. Andrew wasn't just a disgraced prince facing legal battles. He was, in her words, a bad apple, a man so consumed by entitlement that even the simplest tasks became someone else's burden. Her account was a glimpse behind the gilded curtain, and it was anything but flattering. For Buckingham Palace, silence was the chosen response. When pressed about Charlotte's claims, no comment came. It was the same tactic used for years: ignore, outlast, and hope the noise fades. But times have changed. Silence, once a shield, now amplifies suspicion. What makes Charlotte's revelations so powerful isn't just their content but their timing. They surfaced at Andrew's lowest point when public opinion had already turned against him. Her words reinforced the narrative that the man who once stood proudly beside his mother on the balcony was not a victim of circumstance, but an architect of his own downfall. As damning as Charlotte's account was, it wasn't the only one. Prince Andrew is demanding a trial by jury and has formally denied all the allegations against him as he gave a court in New York his official response to allegations of sexual assault. More jarring revelations about Prince Andrew. Over the years, others have stepped forward with stories that paint the Duke of York in an even darker light. Stories of cruelty, entitlement, and outbursts that chipped away at the carefully crafted royal image, and now, a new book is adding fuel to the fire. Veteran royal biographer Andrew Looney's explosive new work, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, pulls back the curtain on Andrew. Once again, according to excerpts obtained by the Daily Mail, the prince's behavior towards staff wasn't just demanding, it was vicious. In one particularly shocking account, Andrew reportedly called a palace staffer a fing imbecile for the crime of not using the Queen Mother's full title. The incident dates back to 2005 when a severe storm ravaged Northern Ireland. Afterward, Andrew asked David Anderson, the head of Hillsborough Castle, whether the property had suffered any serious damage. Anderson answered honestly, mentioning that a tree planted by the Queen Mother had been destroyed. But instead of gratitude, he was met with a cutting silence. Andrew then mocked him, repeating the phrase in a sneering tone. "Did you mean Queen Elizabeth?" "The Queen Mother." What came next was even harsher. Andrew allegedly grilled the staffer, demanding to know how long he had worked for the royal family. When Anderson replied that he had been serving since 1984, Duke snapped, "And you still don't know the proper way to refer to my grandmother." Get out? It wasn't a slip of temper. It was a glimpse into the way Andrew, behind closed doors, dealt with those around him. According to Looney, the prince had a catchphrase. He barked regularly at palace staff, "I want this done and I want this done now. Do it." Orders weren't requests, they were commands, and any failure, however small, risked public humiliation. But Andrew's treatment of staff wasn't the only revelation in Looney's book. The biographer went further, pulling back the curtain on Andrew's strained ties with the younger generation of royals. His relationship with princes William and Harry, according to the book, was problematic, and in one shocking claim, Looney alleged that things once turned physical. The excerpt describes a fiery confrontation between Andrew and Harry, sparked by comments the Duke had allegedly made about Meghan Markle. Behind Harry's back, Andrew was said to have dismissed the actress-turned-duchess as nothing more than an opportunist. Insult struck a nerve. Looney claimed Harry confronted his uncle in a heated argument that ended with a punch to the face. The Duke of York, according to the story, was left with a bloody nose. It's a claim that spread quickly, but it didn't go unchallenged. Harry's camp fired back immediately, branding the account as gross inaccuracies and damaging and defamatory remarks. A representative, the Duke of Sussex, was clear. There had never been a physical fight between Harry and Andrew, nor had Andrew ever called Meghan an opportunist. Still, the allegations add yet another layer to Andrew's already fragile public standing. First came the lawsuits, then the maid's confessions, and now the words of a respected biographer tying his name not only to entitlement, but also to family conflict. Each story chips away at the image of a once proud prince, leaving behind something far less flattering. For Andrew, silence has become the default strategy. The palace offered no comment on Charlotte Briggs' stories, and they've given none here either. But as more insiders and authors step forward with their accounts, one thing is becoming clear. Prince Andrew's reputation isn't just damaged, it's unraveling, and with every revelation, the question grows louder. How much more is still to come? The truth is Andrew's fall from grace wasn't triggered by a single revelation. His downfall wasn't sudden, it built up slowly, scandal after scandal until the weight of it all dragged him down. The last beau of the Duke, Prince Andrew, has agreed to relinquish his titles, including Duke of York, after discussions with King Charles. In a restrained statement, he admitted that ongoing allegations have overshadowed the royal family's work. Though retaining Prince, he loses a title granted by Queen Elizabeth Roman II, signaling reluctant acceptance and public reckoning alongside the loss of his ducal title. Prince Andrew will also relinquish his membership in the Order of the Garter, the oldest and most prestigious order of chivalry in Britain, dating back nearly 7 centuries. The decision, while ceremonial on the surface, carries deep symbolic weight. It represents the final stripping away of the honors that once defined his place in royal society. The move follows years of controversy surrounding Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein, the late American financier and convicted sex offender whose crimes shook the world of the rich and powerful. The prince has long been accused of maintaining a questionable friendship with Epstein even after his conviction, a relationship that led to damaging allegations from Virginia Jew, one of Epstein's alleged victims. In his statement, Andrew maintained his innocence, saying, "I vigorously deny the accusations against me, yet the denial has done little to stem public skepticism. For years, the prince has faced unrelenting scrutiny. From his disastrous 2019 BBC Newsnight interview to his eventual withdrawal from public royal duties, the once adored action man prince, celebrated for his military service during the Fallen War, has seen his reputation crumble under the weight of scandal and silence. Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife but longtime companion, will also lose her title as Duchess of York. It is yet another symbolic erasure. Though their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, will retain their titles. Both women, known for their loyalty to their father, have quietly supported him throughout the controversy, often seen visiting him at his Windsor home, away from the public eye. While the palace statement was restrained, the reaction beyond the royal walls was anything but. Many survivors of Epstein's abuse saw the move as long overdue, a moment of symbolic justice. The brother of the late Virginia Giuffre, who had accused Andrew of sexual misconduct when she was 17 at the home of Ghislaine Maxwell, told BBC Newsnight that this development was a joyous moment for survivors. He described it as a small but powerful acknowledgement that no man, no matter how royal, stands above accountability. I've been on threads all day with survivors around the world that have been connected to Epstein and Maxwell, and it's just a joyous moment for them because we're finally getting some sense of acknowledgement that, like tragically Virginia Giuffre herself, is no longer alive to witness this moment. Earlier this year, she died by suicide. Her passing casting a somber shadow over the ongoing conversation about justice, power, and trauma. For many, her death was a painful reminder of the unseen toll of the Epstein scandal, one that continues to haunt victims and observers alike. Inside royal circles, the decision is being framed as a necessary sacrifice for the sake of the monarchy's stability. King Charles, who has made transparency and modern relevance central to his reign, is said to have been firm yet compassionate in his conversation with his younger brother. To some, it was a moment of quiet mercy. To others, a sign that even royal blood cannot wash away public disgrace. As Prince Andrew retreats further into private life, questions remain. Will this act of relinquishment be enough to restore dignity to the crown? Or will it stand as a permanent reminder of how deeply scandal can wound even the oldest of institutions? For now, the once proud Duke walks away without his titles, carrying instead the heavy burden of a name forever changed by controversy, and a nation watching closely to see what comes next. Does renouncing his royal peerage suffice? Is the disgrace restricted to the royal family or a national thing? What does the Parliament see in this? Let's find out. Background on Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's story begins with secrecy. In the summer of 1959, Queen Elizabeth Roman II was on a 45-day tour of Canada when she discovered she was pregnant. The palace kept it quiet during the tour, and it wasn't until August, after she returned to London, that the news was finally made public. On the 19th of February, 1960 at 3:30 in the afternoon, the Queen gave birth in the Belgian suite at Buckingham Palace. Andrew was her third child, her second son, and the first baby born to a reigning British monarch since Princess Beatrice back in 1857. Less than 2 months later, that same day, he was made Duke of York, Earl of Innes and Baron Killy. The couple had 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and for a time, their marriage seemed strong. Sarah's lively personality felt refreshing compared to the formality of the royal family, and the pair projected happiness to the public. But cracks soon appeared. Andrew's naval career kept him traveling, while the Duchess of York became the target of endless media criticism. In March 1992, they announced their separation, claiming it was amicable. But by August, any hope of reconciliation vanished when the press published scandalous photos of Sarah with John Bryan, a financial advisor, sucking on her toes. That September, he became a midshipman at Britannia Royal Naval College in Dartmouth, and even completed the grueling Royal Marines Alarms Commando course, earning his Green Beret. By 1981, he was a sub-lieutenant, and soon after he was training to fly helicopters. He started with the Gazelle and then moved on to the Sea King, a much larger, more advanced craft. In 1982, he joined 820 Naval Air Squadron, serving aboard HMS Invincible. That year, history came calling. Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands and the Royal Navy sailed south. The British government worried about the Queen's son being put in danger and wanted him moved to a desk job. The Queen, however, insisted he remain with his ship, and so Andrew stayed aboard Invincible, flying missions as a Sea King co-pilot. He took part on the 8th of April. He was baptized in the music room at Buckingham Palace. Like his siblings Charles, Anne, and Edward, Andrew's early years were shaped by a governess who oversaw his education in the palace before he was sent away to Heatherdown School near Ascot. In 1973, he followed the family tradition and entered Gordonstoun in Scotland, where his father and brother had also studied. Andrew developed a reputation there, earning the nickname the Snigger because of his constant habit of cracking off color jokes and laughing far too loudly at them. In 1977, he crossed the Atlantic for 6 months on an exchange program at Lakefield College School in Canada before returning to finish his studies. Over the years, he served on multiple ships, HMS Brazen, HMS Edinburgh, and HMS Campbelltown. He became a helicopter warfare instructor, took part in deployments across the Mediterranean, Far East, and North Atlantic, and was steadily promoted until he reached the rank of commander in 1999. By 2001, he left active naval service after more than 2 decades, later receiving honorary promotions to Rear Admiral in 2010 and Vice Admiral in 2015. But in January 2022, after mounting controversy, he stopped using his honorary titles. Over 150 veterans had signed a letter asking the Queen to strip him of his military roles, leaving him with only his service rank. Outside the Navy, the humiliation was complete. Their divorce was finalized in May 1996, but despite the collapse, Andrew and Sarah maintained an unusually close bond. He continued to speak fondly of her years later, saying they had managed to raise their children together in a way few divorced couples had achieved. Yet their closeness also brought problems. In 2010, Sarah was caught in a sting operation by News of the World. Filmed accepting cash while claiming Andrew would provide top-level business contacts for the right price in anti-submarine operations, missile decoy runs, and casualty evacuations, and even witnessed the Argentine attack on the SS Atlantic conveyor. By the end of the war, when Invincible sailed home to Portsmouth, his parents were there waiting among families of the crew to welcome the ship back. Argentina had even reportedly planned, though never carried out, an assassination attempt on him in July 1982. For all his privilege, Andrew had faced real danger, and commanders like Nigel Ward later described him as an excellent pilot with promise. After the war, his naval career continued. He trained to fly the Lynx helicopter, rose through the ranks, and in 1984 was promoted to lieutenant and even appointed as the Queen's personal aide-de-camp. In July 1979, he left Gordonstoun with a levels in English, history, and economics. That same year, the palace announced that Andrew would follow another royal path, military service. In November 1978, his intention to join the Royal Navy was made public. By December, he was being tested, interviewed, and examined at every level. RAF Big Hill, HMS Daedalus, and HMS Sultan. He officially signed on for 12 years of service in May 19. Andrew's personal life was never far from the spotlight. In 1981, before the Falklands War, he met American photographer and actress Koo Stark. Their relationship was serious, and many believed she was his one true love. But palace pressure and relentless press attention forced them apart in 1983. Even years later, when Andrew faced accusations tied to Jeffrey Epstein, Stark publicly defended him. By 1985, though, Andrew had reconnected with Sarah Ferguson, a childhood acquaintance. Their romance blossomed quickly, and on 23 July 1986, they married at Westminster Abbey in a wedding broadcast to millions. What do you think about King Charles's surprising decision to eject Prince Andrew from the Royal Lodge? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.